They called it the string bag, a lumbering fabric-covered biplane that looked like it belonged in the First World War, not the Second. By 1940, when Nazi Germany unleashed its blitzkrieg across Europe, the Fairey Swordfish was already considered hopelessly obsolete. Too slow, too fragile, too old-fashioned. The Royal Navy's own pilots joked that it was held together with string and prayers. And yet this antiquated machine would sink more enemy warship tonnage than any other Allied aircraft of World War II, 21 Axis warships sent to the bottom, including the pride of Mussolini's fleet at Taranto, and the unstoppable German battleship Bismarck. This is the story of the aircraft that refused to die, the biplane that won the war at sea. 1933. The world stands at a crossroads. Hitler has just seized power in Germany. Japan has invaded Manchuria. The Washington Naval Treaty has expired, and the great powers are rearming. In Britain, the Fleet Air Arm desperately needs a new torpedo bomber to replace the aging Blackburn Ripon. The requirement seems straightforward enough. A carrier-based aircraft capable of delivering an 18-inch torpedo or 1,500 pounds of bombs against enemy shipping. The Fairey Aviation Company responds with a design that is, even by the standards of its day, deliberately conservative. Chief designer Marcel Lobel chooses a biplane configuration when other nations are already moving to monoplanes. He selects a fabric-covered metal frame when stressed metal skins are becoming standard. To naval aviators dreaming of sleek, modern fighters, Fairey's proposal looks like a relic. But Lobel understands something they don't. He understands the North Atlantic. Carrier operations in 1935 are brutal, unforgiving affairs. Flight decks pitch and roll in heavy seas. Arrestor wires snap. Engines fail. In these conditions, you don't want a temperamental, high-performance aircraft. You want something that practically flies itself. Something that can survive a ditching. Something your mechanics can fix with basic tools in a howling gale. Lobel designs for survival, not speed. For reliability, not glory. The prototype takes to the air for the first time on April 17th, 1934. Test pilots immediately notice the Swordfish handles like a dream. Slow? Yes. Stable? Absolutely. It can take off in less than 200 feet. It can land at just 55 miles per hour. Stall speed is so low that in a strong headwind, the aircraft can practically hover. One pilot will later report flying backwards over the English Channel during a storm. The controls are light and responsive. Visibility from the open cockpit is superb. Even inexperienced pilots find it forgiving. The Royal Navy orders 86 production aircraft in April 1935. Let's talk about what this machine actually is. The Fairey Swordfish stands just 12 feet 10 inches tall. Wingspan, 45 feet 6 inches. Length, 36 feet 4 inches. It's not small, but it's not imposing either. The upper wings sits above the fuselage on a series of struts. The lower wing sits just below the cockpit line. Between them, a maze of wire rigging that gives the aircraft its nickname. The frame is welded steel tube covered in fabric, not lightweight aluminum, not stressed metal skin, doped linen and cotton. In 1935, this is already old-fashioned. By 1940, it will seem absurd, but that fabric has advantages. Flak tears through it, leaving small holes, not catastrophic structural failures. Salt water doesn't corrode it. Field repairs require needles and thread, not a machine shop. Power comes from a single Bristol Pegasus radial engine. 9 cylinders arranged in a circle air-cooled, producing 690 horsepower in the Mark II variant, 690. For comparison, the Supermarine Spitfire, entering service at the same time, produces over 1,000. The Pegasus is not powerful, but it's almost indestructible. It runs on low-octane fuel. It tolerates abuse. It starts in Arctic conditions. When everything else fails, the Pegasus keeps turning. Maximum speed, 139 miles per hour in level flight. Cruise speed, 104. A contemporary fighter can fly twice as fast. A Messerschmitt 109 will do nearly 400. But the Swordfish isn't built for speed. It's built for one specific mission: to deliver a Mark 12 torpedo into the side of an enemy warship. Everything else is secondary. That torpedo weighs 1,710 pounds, 18 inches in diameter, 18 feet long, carrying a 388-pound Torpex warhead. The Swordfish carries it externally, clamped beneath the fuselage between the landing gear. Or it can carry bombs, up to 1,500 pounds on underwing racks, or depth charges for anti-submarine work, or mines, or rockets in later variants. The weapon load is respectable. The delivery platform is questionable. The crew sits in 3 open cockpits arranged in tandem. Pilot up front, observer navigator in the middle, operating their radio and navigation equipment, air gunner in the rear, manning a single Lewis gun, or later, a Vickers K gun. Open cockpits, in the North Atlantic, at 100 miles per hour, in winter. Frostbite is an occupational hazard. Crews wear electrically heated suits that often malfunction. They coat their faces in whale grease for insulation. On long patrols over freezing water, men have lost fingers and toes, but they can see. That open cockpit means 360 degrees of visibility. The observer can navigate by looking at the stars. The gunner can watch for fighters. The pilot can judge wind and sea state by feel. In an era before radar becomes widespread, human eyesight is your primary sensor. The Swordfish maximizes it. Production begins in 1936 at Fairey's Hayes factory. Orders expand rapidly. By 1939, the Swordfish equips 13 frontline squadrons. When war breaks out in September, it's the Fleet Air Arm's primary strike aircraft. More will be built by Blackburn Aircraft at Sherburne in Elmet. Total production will eventually reach 2,392 aircraft across multiple variants, and they will all go to war in a conflict that will push them far beyond their design limits. April 11th, 1940. The war is 8 months old and Britain is losing. German forces have occupied Norway. The Royal Navy strikes back at Bergen Harbour. 6 Swordfish from HMS Ark Royal find German cruisers at anchor. They fly through a storm of anti-aircraft fire. One aircraft is hit 73 times. It makes it home. The others follow. They score no torpedo hits. But they learn something vital. The string bag can absorb punishment that would destroy modern aircraft. Those fabric wings don't shatter when shells pass through them. They self-seal around the holes. 3 months later, the lessons become doctrine. The Mediterranean, November 11th, 1940. 21 Swordfish take off from HMS Illustrious in darkness. Their target, the Italian fleet at anchor in Taranto harbor. It's the most heavily defended naval base in the Mediterranean. Barrage balloons, torpedo nets, 60 anti-aircraft batteries. The Italians consider it impregnable. The Swordfish pilots know better. They know their ancient biplanes fly too slow for fire control systems calibrated for modern aircraft. They know their low approach speed means they can drop torpedoes in shallow water where conventional torpedo bombers can't. They arrive at 11 p.m. The first wave goes in at 30 feet above the water. Anti-aircraft fire lights the sky like daylight. Tracer rounds carve red lines through the darkness. The Swordfish lumber through it all at 90 miles per hour. Torpedoes drop. One hits the battleship Conte di Cavour. One strikes Littorio. The second wave follows 20 minutes later. 2 more torpedoes hit Littorio. One hits Caio Duilio. By dawn, 3 Italian battleships are on the bottom of Taranto harbour, half of Mussolini's capital ship strength, eliminated in a single night by obsolete biplanes. The Italian Navy will never recover its offensive capability. And in Tokyo, Japanese naval planners study the attack with great interest. They will apply its lessons at a place called Pearl Harbor. But the Swordfish's greatest moment is still to come. May 18th, 1941. The German battleship Bismarck has broken out into the Atlantic. She's already sunk HMS Hood, the pride of the Royal Navy. Now she's making for the French coast, where Luftwaffe fighters can protect her. If she reaches safety, the Atlantic convoy routes are finished. The Royal Navy throws everything into the hunt. Swordfish from HMS Victorious find her first. 9 aircraft attack in deteriorating weather. 1 torpedo hits. It causes minimal damage. Bismarck races on. The battleship disappears into a fog bank. The British lose contact. For 31 hours, Bismarck runs free. She's almost made it, almost safe. Then a Catalina flying boat spots her again. She's 250 miles from the French coast, just hours from safety. And behind her, HMS Ark Royal is launching Swordfish. May 26th, late afternoon, 15 Swordfish take off in a storm. Visibility is barely 300 yards. Rain lashes the open cockpits. The pilots can barely see their instruments. They find Bismarck making 27 knots through heavy seas. The battleship throws up a curtain of anti-aircraft fire. Shells burst among the attacking biplanes. The Swordfish attack from all directions, weaving through the flak at 80 feet above the waves. Their slow speed makes them almost impossible to hit. Fire control radars can't track them. Human gunners can't lead them properly. 2 torpedoes hit. 1 strikes amidships, harmless. The other hits the stern. It jams Bismarck's rudder 15 degrees to port. The most powerful battleship in the world begins steaming in circles. She cannot steer. She cannot escape. By morning, British battleships arrive and finish her. Bismarck goes down with 2,000 men. The Atlantic is saved. And it was done by biplanes. Compare the Swordfish to its contemporaries, and the mismatch seems laughable. The Japanese Nakajima B-5N Kate flies at 235 miles per hour. The American Douglas Devastator manages 206. The German Heinkel 115 reaches 220. All of them are monoplanes. All of them are faster, sleeker, more modern. And yet the Swordfish outlives them all. The Devastator is withdrawn after the disaster at Midway. The Kate becomes obsolete by 1944. The Heinkel is relegated to training duties, but the Stringbag flies combat missions until the last day of the war. Why? Because modern naval aircraft are fragile. They need concrete runways and sophisticated maintenance. They can't operate from escort carriers in Arctic storms. The Swordfish can launch from a merchant ship with a wooden deck. It can land in a gale. It can take off overloaded with depth charges and hunt U-boats for 8 hours. By 1943, more swordfish are flying anti-submarine patrols than torpedo strikes. They sink 21 U-boats. They become the convoy defenders, the submarine hunters, the unglamorous workhorses that actually win the Battle of the Atlantic. The last combat mission happens May 5th, 1945. A swordfish from RAF Calshot attacks German targets near Hamburg. 2 days later, Germany surrenders, and then the string bag simply disappears from history. Jets and rockets dominate the post-war narrative. The swordfish is too slow, too strange, too contrary to the story of technological progress. It's scrapped, forgotten, buried under the legend of Spitfires and Lancasters. But on the seafloor of the Atlantic and the Mediterranean, 21 warships remember. The biplane that won the war, they said it couldn't fight. If you want to discover more forgotten war machines that changed history, subscribe now. The past is full of surprises.